Diablo created an addiction that was never exclusive to a single company. For years, dozens of small independent studios tried to capture that same feeling. Click, kill, collect loot, repeat. And some of them didn't just come close, they surpassed the original in areas Blizzard itself stopped caring about. There's a hidden classic, there's a Brazilian indie almost nobody talks about, and there's at least one game here that could become your next obsession over the coming months. Let's get straight to it.
Grim Dawn doesn't apologize for being dark. Cairn is a world that has nearly lost all of humanity in a war between dimensions, and you feel that weight in every faction, every suspicious NPC, and every settlement surviving through fear alone. The faction system is where the game really shows its personality. Helping one group can turn another into a sworn enemy, and those enemies don't forget. They hold grudges, send larger hordes after you, and in the end, your choices shape who wants to kill you the fastest. On top of that, there's the devotion system, a constellation of bonuses you unlock by restoring shrines scattered across the world, almost like a second skill tree running underneath the first one. Combine any 2 of the 9 available masteries, and the build variety becomes practically endless. And for those who truly enjoy suffering, hardcore mode shows no mercy. Die once, and it's over for good. Victor Vran throws you into Zagaravia without locking you into a fixed class. There are no warriors or mages here. You're a demon hunter who builds your own playstyle by switching weapons on the fly, mixing potions, bombs, and demonic powers depending on what the situation demands. Combat relies heavily on reflexes. Dodging isn't optional, it's at the core of every fight, and jumping is used both to avoid attacks and to solve vertical puzzles while reaching secret areas hidden throughout the map. That completely changes the pace compared to a traditional hack and slash where you mostly stand still trading blows. Every weapon has one basic attack and 2 special abilities that can be chained together, creating unique effects depending on how you mix your combos. And if the game starts feeling too easy, Hex items let you raise the difficulty on purpose by giving enemies extra buffs and bonuses, a rare system that lets players decide exactly how much they want to suffer. In co-op, that build freedom becomes even more fun to watch, with every player creating a completely different version of Victor. Very few games in 2000 had the courage to do this. Choosing your class in Nox doesn't just change your abilities, it changes the entire game. Warrior, Conjurer, and Wizard each experience almost completely different stories, with unique allies, villains, and endings. It's practically like playing 3 separate RPGs built inside the same world. Magic here isn't just for show. The system was born from a multiplayer magical combat simulator, and you can feel it. Spells interact with each other, traps remain hidden until enemies step on them, and a well-played mage can become a nightmare for any melee warrior. There's also one detail that few people remember. The game's fog of war, called True Sight, darkens the map dynamically based on exactly what Jack can see from his current position. It may sound like a small thing, but it completely changes the feeling of exploring dungeons. In the end, Nox is the kind of game that rewards anyone who finishes it more than once, because the second campaign is never the same as the first. There's one thing that sets Last Epoch apart from almost every other Diablo-like. You literally travel through time during the campaign, visiting different eras of the same world to discover how everything ended up this way. It's not just a beautiful backdrop, it's the foundation of the story. Every skill has its own upgrade tree, with more than 120 in total. That means a simple attack can evolve into something completely different, summoning snakes, chaining lightning, or turning undead into archers. You're not just choosing what abilities to use, you're deciding exactly how they behave. The crafting system is addictive all on its own. There's no relying entirely on random luck. You forge, upgrade, and shape your gear through a deterministic system, always knowing what you're working toward. And it does all of that without selling power through microtransactions, creating the rare feeling that every bit of your progress truly belongs to you.
If you've ever wanted to feel the weight of being an Inquisitor in the 41st millennium, this is where it happens. In Warhammer 40k, Inquisitor Martyr, you're not some generic hero saving the world. You're carrying out the Emperor's will across an entire sector, rotting from within, corrupted by chaos, and every mission feels like another piece of that decay. The class system goes far beyond the obvious. You can hold the front line as a crusader, infiltrate with the precision of an assassin from the death cult, or wield the powers of the warp as a psyker, and each class features 3 specializations that completely change how it plays. What separates this game from the others on the list is its scale. You're not moving across one fixed map, you're navigating an entire star map, choosing solar systems, abandoned stations, and planets with their own environmental conditions. Uther's Tarot even lets you customize the conditions of your next mission however you want. In 4-player co-op, by forming cabals with other players, the world keeps evolving through seasons and community-driven events, ensuring there's always another corruption waiting to be purged. Hades 2 replaces Zagreus' fiery attitude with Melinoe's cold witchcraft, and that shift in tone can be felt throughout every corner of the rebuilt underworld. This isn't just another version of the first game, it's Supergiant pushing its own formula as far as it can go. What stands out most is how weapons and magic blend together. You don't simply choose a weapon of the night. You enchant it with ancient sorcery, then stack blessings from Apollo, Zeus, and other gods until your build feels intentionally overpowered. Every run becomes a completely different experiment. The characters carry almost all of the game's emotional weight. The cast is huge, fully voiced, and filled with conversations that evolve depending on how your story unfolds. It genuinely feels like you're building real relationships instead of just unlocking more dialogue. Every death teaches you something new about the underworld itself.
There's a reason Torchlight II is still remembered all these years later. It never tried to be complicated. 4 classes, an open world to explore, and a progression system that's easy to understand. No spreadsheets required, just click, kill, and level up. What really keeps players coming back is New Game Plus. Finish the campaign? Doesn't matter. You start over with the same character, the same gear, and the same gold. Only now the enemies hit much harder. It's the kind of system that turns "I beat the game" into "alright, now the real game begins." Then there's the pet, which sounds like a small feature until you use it. It can run back to town and sell your loot while you keep exploring, so you never have to waste time making trips back and forth. Add the massive Steam Workshop mod support, and years after release, you can still play Torchlight 2 in ways that feel completely different from the original experience. With a budget-friendly price and free co-op over LAN or online, it's the kind of game you invite your friends to try for a few minutes, and somehow you're all still playing at 3 in the morning. Borgovia is one of those settings that sticks with you. A gothic Norse city where mad science and monsters exist side by side, and you're never completely sure who the real villain is. Better yet, you never hunt alone. Lady Katarina, a ghost with a personality of her own, fights by your side throughout the entire adventure. One of the first things you'll notice is the rage system. Instead of simply building mana or stamina, you earn rage by pulling off impressive feats in combat, then spend it to activate up to 3 power-ups that transform your abilities at exactly the right moment. It encourages aggressive play instead of defensive tactics. Beyond the 50-plus hour campaign, there's the Hunter's Lair, your personal headquarters where you store loot, trade with NPCs, and even defend the base in a tower defense minigame whenever waves of enemies launch an attack. It's not just decoration, it's a meaningful part of the progression system. With 6 classes, enormous skill trees for each one, and an endgame that stretches all the way to level 100 with exclusive currencies to earn, it's easy to spend countless hours in Borgovia without having the same experience twice.
While most ARPGs keep recycling European dragons and demons, Ghostlore draws its inspiration from Southeast Asian folklore, and that completely changes the atmosphere. You'll face creatures like the Panango, a floating head dragging its own organs behind it, or the Babi Nyapet, sorcerers transformed into demonic boars, monsters that almost no other game in the genre has ever explored. The class system breaks away from tradition as well. You combine abilities from 3 out of 6 available classes, fitting everything into a skill grid that expands as you level up. Modifiers also connect both horizontally and vertically, creating advanced combos whenever compatible skills are placed next to each other. But the real standout feature is the glyph system, magical symbols inspired by the Tokipona language that you inscribe onto your own body, each one occupying space on a personal grid. Some rare compound glyphs take up 5 spaces at once while empowering everything around them, turning your layout into a puzzle all by itself. Add traditional regional weapons like the wavy Chris dagger and the parang, along with local foods that literally boost your stats, and you end up with an ARPG that genuinely feels unlike anything else you've played in the genre. Surviving the massacre of Kasagath already tells you everything about Wolcen Lords of Mayhem's tone. This isn't the story of a flawless hero, it's about someone shaped by war, raised by a Grand Inquisitor, and surrounded by childhood friends who carry the same scars. The weight of that history follows you through every mission. But what really sets Wolcen apart is its complete build freedom. There are no fixed classes here. The weapon you equip determines the abilities you can use. Switch weapons and you instantly switch playstyles, without locking your character into a single role from the very beginning. The resource system also does things differently. Rage and willpower constantly compete against each other, forcing you to balance aggression and control instead of simply filling up a monobar. And when things get desperate, you can unleash your apocalyptic form, transforming into a celestial being with 4 unique abilities and an ultimate powerful enough to end entire fights. With 21 possible subclasses hidden inside its rotating passive skill tree and combat that rewards learning enemy attack patterns, Wolcen delivers a kind of depth that only reveals itself after dozens of hours spent experimenting with different builds.
The Slormancer doesn't even try to hide its sense of humor. You begin as someone with absolutely no talent whatsoever, yet somehow become the kingdom's last hope because, apparently, determination makes up for everything. That playful, self-aware tone runs through the entire adventure, even while you're clearing dungeons packed with enemies. What truly makes the game stand out is the freedom to change everything whenever you want. It's not just about respeccing your skills. You can swap between all 3 classes, switch between every Slorm Reaper you've collected, and freely change your ancient talents without losing any progress. It's about collecting, experimenting, and constantly rebuilding your character instead of locking yourself into one setup. Speaking of Slorm Reapers, they're unique weapons with personalities of their own, and they become stronger the more you use them. Combine that with over 150 elemental talents covering fire, ice, lightning, light, and shadow, and the build variety becomes almost ridiculous. With procedurally generated levels across 7 different environments, more than 200 elite modifiers, and an item progression system that feels nearly endless, the Slormancer creates that rare gameplay loop where there's always another build you want to test before you've even finished the last one. Minecraft Dungeons takes the Diablo and Gauntlet formula and simplifies it without any shame. There are no overwhelming stat sheets to memorize, no fixed classes, and nothing that scares away newcomers to dungeon crawlers. At the same time, longtime fans of the genre still feel completely at home. Its biggest strength is how easy it is to swap your gear. Is your archer build struggling inside a cramped dungeon? Step into a safe corner, switch to a tank setup, and charge right back into the fight. Since weapons and armor roll with procedurally generated enchantments, 2 bows of the same level will almost never have identical abilities, giving you a reason to keep experimenting. Exploration rewards curiosity too. That risky side path won't always lead to an amazing treasure chest. Sometimes it leads to absolutely nothing. And strangely enough, that makes the loot you do find feel much more rewarding. But the game truly shines in 4-player co-op. Everyone can build their character however they want with no penalties, while the difficulty scales alongside the size of your group, making it the perfect game to jump into with friends and mow down hordes of enemies without worrying about perfect optimization. Reliving the memories of a hero of old is a simple premise, but Chronicon uses it to justify something rare, an indie game built almost entirely by one person that offers more than 900 skills and perks to unlock. It's hard not to be impressed by just how much content fits inside it. Progression never truly ends. Once you hit the normal level cap, the mastery system takes over, offering infinite ranks that continue strengthening your character long after the campaign is over. There's always another milestone waiting. Crafting goes much deeper than you'd expect. You can enchant gear, socket gems, empower equipment, and inscribe runes. With more than 700 randomly generated items and over 400 unique pieces with their own special powers, building your character feels like solving an optimization puzzle. And despite its simple pixel art style, the game doesn't pull its punches. There's a true hardcore node, randomly generated endgame dungeons, and bosses that demand real preparation. It's the kind of hidden gem whose true scale only becomes clear once you actually play it. Darksiders Genesis could have been just another isometric Diablo clone, but it refuses to stop being Darksiders. Brutal executions, clever puzzles, and secret-filled dungeons are all still here. The camera changed, but the soul of the series didn't. What really carries the game is the massive difference between War and Strife. War is all about raw melee combat, simple combos, quick dashes into battle, and perfectly timed counterattacks. Strife is his complete opposite.
fragile up close, but deadly at range, with 7 different ammo types and a meter that temporarily supercharges his weapons. Switching between the two in solo play instantly changes the pace of every fight. Then there's the kind of progression that makes you want to replay completed levels. Hidden upgrades, like one that causes enemies to explode when they die and trigger chain reactions, are genuinely satisfying to discover. You're not hunting them down just for achievements, you actually want them. The creature core system adds another layer on top, letting you slot attack, wrath, or health cores into matching sockets to squeeze out even more bonuses, until you're finally strong enough to survive the brutal apocalyptic difficulty.
Heroes of Hammerwatch II. There's one detail that makes Heroes of Hammerwatch II stick with you differently than most roguelites: the town you build between dungeon runs. Every permadeath hurts a little less when you know the resources you collected will become a blacksmith, a hunter's lodge, or permanent upgrades. Death becomes part of your progression instead of the end of it. With 7 playable classes, from paladin to sorcerer, your choice actually matters, especially in co-op. Someone tanks, someone heals, someone attacks from range. Better yet, the game lets you respec your skills whenever you want, so one bad decision never ruins your character forever. Every dungeon is completely randomized, from enemies and temporary buffs to treasure chest rewards, constantly creating that classic risk versus reward dilemma. Do you keep pushing forward or gamble on one more enemy wave for a tempting upgrade? 4-player co-op makes every run feel even less repetitive, even if a few difficulty tweaks still need some polish. In the end, it's one of those pixel art games that can run on almost any PC while still becoming incredibly addictive, thanks to the constant feeling that every new run makes you just a little stronger. Coming from the creators of Ori, No Rest for the Wicked is a complete shift in style. Instead of a graceful platformer, you're thrown into a heavy Souls-like combat system, where one mistimed move can cost your character's life. And that's not an exaggeration. Every hit hurts, whether you're the one dealing it or taking it. Difficulty is the heart of the experience. Even regular enemies demand that you learn their attack patterns, while bosses are punishing in the most literal sense. They test your patience, your positioning, and whether you've actually mastered the combat instead of just mashing buttons. There's no room for autopilot error. And yet, in the middle of all that brutality, the game gives you Sacrament, a peaceful town where you can rest, farm, fish, and decorate your own home. It feels like a forced moment to catch your breath between one brutal dungeon and the next, making the difficulty hit even harder once you head back into battle. Whether you're playing solo or with up to 4 players, every inch of the island has been handcrafted rather than procedurally generated, making every ambush feel even more cruel because it was intentionally designed to catch you at that exact moment.
Nemesis losing control and condemning mortals to eternal punishment immediately sets the tone. Here, you're not just hunting monsters, you're challenging gods themselves. And the game fully commits to that idea. At some point during your journey, you'll find yourself standing face to face with a deity without any warning. Combat has evolved into something much more physical. Dodges, counterattacks, and well-timed combos make it feel closer to a modern action RPG than the original Titan Quest. Enemies have learned new tricks as well, with entire factions coordinating their abilities to surround you instead of simply charging straight ahead. The class system is where things become truly interesting. You combine 2 masteries to create your own archetype, meaning there's no single correct build, only the one you discover by experimenting with the strengths and weaknesses of every combination. Add cowering Greek landscapes, deep underground caverns, and a soundtrack that blends traditional instruments with full orchestral music, and it's easy to understand why this world constantly makes you think, I'll explore just a little farther. Book of Demons takes the dark atmosphere of the original Diablo and combines it with an idea almost nobody had seriously attempted before: cards instead of weapons. You don't equip a sword here, you build the deck, where every card represents an item, a spell, or an ability that needs to appear in your hand at exactly the right moment. What makes it stand out is how timing becomes a core part of the strategy. Enemy shields, poison effects, incoming spells. Many situations don't give you enough time to deal with everything by simply clicking faster. The order in which you play your cards often determines whether you survive or die, making every fight feel far more tactical than the usual click-heavy gameplay of the genre. Then there's Flexoscope, a system that learns your playing habits and predicts how long your next session will take. It's perfect if you only have 15 minutes to play and want to know you'll reach a natural stopping point without interrupting your progress. Set entirely inside a pop-up book, the Paperverse is equal parts tribute and parody of classic hack-and-slash games. And if you're looking for a real challenge, roguelike mode delivers permanent death, limited healing, and exactly the kind of punishment that only players who've mastered the base game are ready to face.
Very few Brazilian games have had the courage to build their world around a real and painful chapter of the country's history. Hellclock takes place in Canudos, where you play as Pajeu, trying to rescue your mentor's soul while time itself resets after every descent. It's a roguelike where the narrative is built around repeating, learning, and growing stronger. Combat blends 3 completely different fighting styles into a single character. A fast knife lets you dance through enemy hordes. The ancient bell of Canudos crushes everything with raw force. And an enchanted revolver keeps enemies at bay from a distance. Better yet, you don't have to commit to just one. The most interesting builds come from mixing all 3 together. The relic system is where risk becomes genuinely exciting. You can corrupt your relics in search of greater power, but the odds of receiving either a blessing or a curse are exactly the same. Every decision carries real consequences for your entire build. And with peaceful mode removing the time pressure or hardcore mode pushing your skills to the limit, Hellclock adapts just as well to players who want to experience the story as it does to those looking for the genre's toughest challenges, all while proudly standing as a genuinely Brazilian game with its own unique identity. If there's one game that always comes up whenever someone says more complex than Diablo, it's Path of Exile 2. And honestly, that's no exaggeration, which is exactly why it closes today's list. The passive skill tree alone is enough to intimidate newcomers, with more than 1,500 nodes letting you shape your character however you want, with no predefined path. What really changes everything is the skill gem system. You don't just choose an ability, you build it by socketing support gems directly into the skill gem itself, with up to 6 linked sockets for every ability. It feels almost like assembling a custom weapon before every fight. With 12 classes and 36 ascendancies, you can create combinations that normally shouldn't even exist, like a rogue wielding powerful ice magic. And that's only the campaign. The endgame opens into maps across countless different biomes, more than 100 bosses with unique mechanics, and additional passive trees that completely reshape how you farm loot. If you enjoy Diablo for its action, but wish it had far more depth, Path of Exile 2 often feels like an entirely different game hidden inside another one, simply because there's so much room to experiment, make mistakes, refine your build, and eventually discover the one that truly clicks.